Okay, so in this series, we're going to go over programming for iPhone, iPad, Mac OS, Apple TV, stuff like that. And this will be a little bit different than the other programming videos that we've done, because there's more setup required, and you really got to know some of the language before you start programming. So the first thing that we're going to do is go in Finder and you go. We're going to go to Applications. Um, we'll highlight the App Store. And there are a couple different ways a couple different ways for Microsoft and Embarcadero that you can program for the Mac, but we're going to use the Mac way. And so their IDE is called Xcode. So here it is. We'll just download this. May ask you for your Apple ID. Of course, you're going to do this on a Mac. And if it asks you for your Apple ID, just enter that. Wait for the download to stop. I'll pause the video now and we'll get started again in a little bit. Okay, welcome back. That took like an hour or two to download Xcode and install it. And the first time you open it, it may ask you to agree to something. You can see I've already created a test project here. And again, Swift is different from a lot of other languages for UI or GUI development. We'll go ahead and create a quick application, and then we're going to have to delve into the code. So when you hit create application, you can see multi-platform, iOS, Mac OS, that would be the desktop, watch OS, TV OS, drivers, and other things. We'll go ahead and do an iOS, and we're going to do an application. Real quick, Swift playgrounds, they're a good place to try out code. If you just want to do a quick couple lines of code, function, something like that, where you want to test it outside of an application, you can do that in the playground. And we'll be using that to actually learn Swift before we come back into the GUI development. If you don't know the language, you'll never be able to just start developing with a GUI like you can in Delphi or some of these other Visual Studio, Visual Basic type applications. So we'll click Next. We'll just call this Demo. And you can see it's got an organization identifier. This goes out to Git, which is a repository for code that does your version control and everything else. So it's kind of built into Xcode. I don't have that set up yet, so you're going to see me get an error. I was saying storyboard. You're going to see me get an error until I set that up. But and we're going to tell this to include test. Go to next. Just store this here. And here here's the GitHub error because I don't have that set up. I'll get that set up shortly. We can see some version information, build information. We're telling it to deploy to iPhone, iPad. You can tell it what mode you want it to default to, whether it requires full screen or not. And you got some other parameters in here in Xcode. To the left, you've got all the files that come with it. You can tell that it generated quite a number of files for us already. You can scroll through these other resources, build settings, all these other things. There's a lot in here. And then you can pick your deployment. So in this case, we'll just say we're going to test it on an iPhone 11. Now, another thing with Xcode is you can have it deployed to your actual live phone, and we'll get a camera and show how to set this up and then do testing on your live phone. This is going to use a simulator, and it'll be okay, but it's not going to be like an actual iPhone. You won't get that feel of performance and everything else. And here, since there's nothing in the app, we have the simulator, and we don't even have a hello world. We'll get to that, but you can see how we've executed the basic framework for an iOS application, and then we'll kill that. And again, we'll get started here. Here's the actual code that it used to pull it together. Again, you can see there's some specific ways that it calls functions and creates classes that we have to go through and define before we can actually start coding an iPhone application or an iPad application. So again, just want to show you the GUI, want to show you how to set up iCode, set something up, get it running, and then we'll start walking through the different portions of the Swift language, and then come back to actually develop an application. Okay, now what we're going to do is we've done our test. Let me show you. We've done our test on the simulated iPhone. Build succeeded. It'll pop up right here. Looks like it's going to start up. And again, the good thing about the simulator is you can test across a lot of devices. The bad thing is you really can't test performance. So if you're back in the code area here, I guess I killed it. So if you're back in the code area, let's see if I can get this to come up. Okay, what you want to do is go to the top of the project, and to be able to test your application on your actual iPhone or an iPad, you're going to do a few things. First of all, you're going to select a team, and we did this when we set up the project. And then it said that there wasn't a certificate available. So what we've done is you plug in your iPhone, and it will create a certificate on your iPhone, and I'll try to show you how to do that. But you're going to go under Settings, General, and then Device Management. That may have changed in iOS 15 from 14, so you can search for Device Management, and it will place a certificate in there, and it'll say Apple Development, the certificate. And what you do is you'll click on that, and you'll see your team name, and then you'll click Allow. And when it does that, you'll see your iPhone here under the devices. So here are all the simulators. You'll see your iOS device. And what that means is that you can then test and build your credentials for, this is for your laptop. Build succeeded. Unlock my iPhone. And sure enough, I have the blank screen on my iPhone. We don't even have a hello world yet. But I'll get a camera and I'll go into the iPhone, show you where the device management is, and show you how to select that certificate. That's the one thing you need to do on your iPhone. And then you can test on your iPhone. And I'll show it coming up on the iPhone, and you'll see a little application. So again, little by little, we're going to set up our environment, and then we're going to go into learning Swift so we can use it and start building out these applications. So I don't have a stand, so this is going to be problematic, but we're in settings. Here, we're going to go to device management. And in there, you're going to see
Apple Development Certificate, and you're going to select Trust Apple Development. And when you trust that certificate, then you can go into Xcode, build your application, and there it shows on your iPhone. Again, it's blank, but it's on the iPhone. So when we start adding to it, you have your actual application on your iPhone or your iPad or your Mac, whichever one you're developing for.